Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your host Jay. I wanted to let other hosts know something that I just learned recently. So Airbnb, even if you have a no pet policy listed on your listing, you still have to accept by law people with service animals. And these people who want to bring a service animal do not have to notify the host that they're bringing an animal. How did I find this out? Well, let me kind of rewind a little bit of time. Once upon a time, when Steve and I were first dating, I had a cat, and Steve could never come to my house because he's allergic to cats. And when I would even go to his house when we were dating, I couldn't wear things that were full of my cat's dander because then he would get all itchy and have a hard time breathing. So, I mean, he's allergic. That's what it is. Same thing goes for dogs. He can't be, like, we were at a party one time, New Year's Eve, low key, it was just me, Steve, and this other couple, a friend of ours, and they have a dog, and the dog had to stay in the other room. By the time we got home, I remember I stayed up all night just watching Steve's breathing patterns because he was having such a hard time breathing, the full wheezing sound. And I kept saying, Steve, I swear we have to go to the hospital. We have to go to the hospital. I was total panic. And he was saying, oh, it's okay. That's all I kept hearing. And I was like a hawk over him, watching him. Thankfully, and ended up being okay. And the wheezing, started going away as the morning came on. I mean, when me and Steve started making this thing official, I had to make a decision between my cat and Steve. Thank God we worked out all these years later because that was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I had to give my cat to my best friend. He was in good hands. My little gizmo was in great hands. But I'm just explaining this because to explain the level of allergy that Steve has. So here's the deal. I just listed our primary home where we sleep just a couple of weeks ago. So the other day, a guest that booked already about a week ago just randomly decided to tell me, oh, I just want to let you know I'm bringing my service animal with me, my service dog, to your place. And I kind of was thinking, oh, okay. We have a problem here because Steve's allergic enough that if there's dander left in the house, he could go through that wheezing. I just didn't want to risk it. So I'm thinking, okay, now we have a bit of a problem here. I mean, if it wasn't a place that we're going back to sleep to, that's one thing, but this is my house, right? We're going to sleep in those beds. I don't know if the dogs are going to go on the beds. I don't know, like on the couches where we sit and watch TV, all that stuff. So I'm kind of in this panic. And yes, it's true that I could have the cleaning crew clean more thoroughly, but who's going to cover that cost of the more thorough cleaning? Because I don't even know if I could charge that to the guests. But anyway, so I write back to the guests and I say, we have kind of a problem here. My partner is super allergic to dogs, cats. So the guest actually is really cool about it. She just said, listen, Airbnb told me I don't even have to tell you that I have a service animal that I'm bringing, but I just thought as a courtesy, I'd let you know, and you should definitely update your listing so this doesn't happen again, which she's totally right. I just didn't know that I had to do that. So I call Airbnb because she hadn't canceled just yet. I call Airbnb and I explained to them the situation, and they said, okay, this is a tricky situation because you're technically not allowed to discriminate against people with service animals. And I said, listen, she could stay in one of my other places, but she would have to move from place to place because there's nothing open straight through. And the only reason why this is a problem in my situation is because it's my house where we go and sleep. So Airbnb does dig a little deeper, and they came back and said, listen, in this situation, it's okay because though you cannot discriminate against people with service animals, like you have to accept them. If it's a risk of health and safety, which in this case it is, then we can go ahead and cancel. But you do have to update your listing to notify people in advance so this doesn't happen again, which I said, I already did that. I totally understand. The weird thing that the rep did confirm was that the guest does not have to notify the host that they're bringing a service animal, which I find strange because then situations like mine could happen and it could be a health risk. So I found that strange. But B, and I'm not exactly sure if I heard her right, because I'm dealing with a water heater leak and all this stuff kind of going on, so I was a little bit rushed. But she said that they don't have to show proof, or documentation I should say, that it's a service animal. Now, I didn't dig deeper into this. Like I said, I have a couple of things going on, but I don't know if she means they don't have to provide proof to Airbnb or just to the host. Now, if this is to Airbnb, that they don't have to provide documentation, I find that absurd and crazy, because every single person is just gonna say, yeah, it's my service animal and I didn't have to notify you and I don't have to provide documentation. Then they could bring any animal that they feel like bringing into your home. So then the last two things I want to mention. So then the guests themselves end up canceling. Like I said, she was actually being really cool about it, and she said, okay, that's fine, I'll go find another place, and there's plenty of time before then, so whatever. So she ends up canceling, and then Airbnb calls me a couple of days later and they said, okay, even though the guest canceled and this is a health risk, blah, 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 we're gonna make it as though it's a cancellation by host and not the guest. And I was like, okay. And they were like, okay, so like, just kind of briefly going over it with me that they're going to put the host on the cancellation on my side. And I said, okay. And the rep did not mention any penalties or anything like that. So yesterday I was going over my calendars and to give to the cleaners and whatnot. And I'm going through and I see these dates blocked off, the same dates that this guest had originally booked. And I keep trying to unblock them. I call Airbnb. The rep said, oh yes, I'm looking here. Because the cancellation was done by host, there are several penalties that come with that. One is that they block the dates. You cannot rebook the dates. You also have a review showing that you're the one that canceled this, and all these different things. And I said, listen, I've never ever canceled a reservation before as a host, ever, unless it was an emergency, which I just recently had to cancel because of the water heater. And so I sent documentation and whatever. And that happens, of course, penalty free. In this situation, I had no idea that you guys allow animals without being notified, service animals without being notified. I've now gone ahead and updated my listing. In this situation, I offered the guest the other things. I know it wasn't convenient, but I offered her my other units that she could have stayed in, but she would have to move from unit to unit to make it work, and I understand that's not convenient for her. The rep was really nice. She ended up unblocking the dates. So all this, long story, I can talk a lot, I know. But anyway, all this just to say and to let hosts know that if you rent out your primary where you sleep, or if you have, let's say, a guest house that's connected to your primary, or a room, you have to let people know on your listing if anyone in your household truly has an allergy. Like, don't go being that person that is going to make stuff up to not have pets in their home. Like, don't ruin it for everyone else. But you have to let people know that you yourself or someone in your household has an allergy to dogs, cats, whatever, so that people who are about to book your home know. Because the only reason why I found out that my guest had a service animal is because she was courteous enough to let me know. But they do not have to tell you. Airbnb told me that, and she told me that, the guest. So they don't have to tell you. So you have to definitely let people know in advance, so they don't just go ahead and instant book your place and show up with an animal, and then there's a problem once they get there. Anyway, guys, I have to go. Just want to let other hosts know this in advance. And I think Airbnb should, I don't know if it's something illegal for them to request, or maybe they're afraid people are going to be discriminatory to people who let hosts know that they're going to bring a service animal. I don't know how to get around it, but I do feel like they should let hosts know that if this is going to be a problem, to let people know on their listing, or have a way for guests to let hosts know that they're going to bring a service animal. I mean, I think that's only fair. And again, it's inevitable that people are going to try to swindle their way around to just lie and make up stuff. I don't know if there's a way to show proof. Like with Steve, he has allergy tests from when he was a kid that we can show. I don't know if Airbnb would really need to go down that route. Like I said, I know that there's always going to be people bending and breaking rules, but it should be known if someone's going to be bringing a service animal to your house in case there are any situations like ours. So just wanted to let you guys know that I have a bunch of stuff to deal with. Water heaters leaking. Make sure you check your dates on your water heaters. If it's 10 years or older, change them out so you don't have a leak like we did on the neighbor downstairs below. Kind of glad it happened before we're off island. So I gotta go. If you like this video, go ahead and click that like button. And if you want to see more videos of mine where I talk about hosting, Kauai, traveling, investing, and finance and all that stuff going on in my life, go ahead and click that subscribe button. I'll see you next time.